Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld football show. It is the divisional round, which means we have the Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. We have the New York Giants, the team of the Denny's, visiting the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Buffalo Bills, and, of course, the Dallas Cowboys playing in Santa Clara, California, and a renewal of their ancient blood feud that no one born after 1993 will remember. But Denny and I, we remember. Kerrane, do you remember when Cowboys 49ers games were really big events in the 90s? Do you remember
that? I see. That was like a little bit before when I was paying attention to football. I remember there was a lot of Cowboys and 49ers fans that suddenly cropped up right when I was like around fourth grade or so. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of really my memory.
Well, that for a while it was the Super Bowl.
It was the Super Bowl.
It didn't matter. Like, it was a coronation. Like once the Cowboys or the 49ers got into the Super Bowl, played the Chargers or the Bills or Washington.
Chargers game.
Or not Washington, but the Broncos. You're like, okay, this is an exhibition. But yeah, I mean, those were like the biggest games that I remember as a kid were Cowboys for even regular season games. It felt like a heavyweight fight, like you would actually pay to watch,
It really did. So Kerrane wasn't paying attention to football then. He apparently won't be paying attention to football and conference championship Sunday because you're apparently going to literally be in Indonesia. Are you going to be able to watch these conference championship games? And can you really work for our website if you're skipping the conference championship games?
I had to dig deep into the fine print of my employment contract to find that we do, in fact, have some paid time off.
No.
It took an army of lawyers to enforce this, but Pat was dragged kicking and screaming into the room. He wouldn't attend the meeting.
You may have also cleared this vacation. Not that you needed to clear it, like 10 months ago. You're like, I might go to Thailand. I'm like, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Also, I am not going to Thailand. But
that's right. Sorry, Indonesia and Vietnam, I believe.
Thailand.
Correct.
That's correct.
We're doxing you.
Yeah. Well, Indonesia is pretty big, so I feel like it's okay. I will be on a boat. I will be on a boat that I do not believe has internet, and I will be in the sea. I will be in the ocean at the time.
Does that have internet?
There's no internet in the sea.
The whole ocean's been wired now. It all has this fiber.
just go down. There's fiber optic cables.
Yeah, it's killing a lot of the fish.
So what are you going to do exactly?
I'm scuba diving. For 10 days.
And you won't be on your phone.
Do you come up for air?
Can you take your phone with you when you do that? They're waterproof now, right?
Yeah, they're not. No, the pressure will crack your screen. You got to be careful about that.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm going to be kind of just completely out of the – I mean, I think we may have internet at some points, but it's going to be kind of – I think I'm basically going to save the game. I'm going to save the game for a week and a half later.
Wow.
And then come back and watch it.
I will accidentally ruin it for you before then. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I'll be very dependent on your recap pod that we were discussing. There you go. Because I'm going to need all the details.
That you were supposed to go on from Indonesia, and now you're claiming I can't do that because I'm going to be on a boat and not watching the game or not have internet. Have you guys ever watched an NFL? I've actually watched an NFL playoff game from a boat where I was going snorkeling, and I thought it was the Saints Vikings game a few years ago. I'm like, Saints will win. And it was like the one ever good big game for Kirk Cousins. And then I felt like I was missing history when the Vikings beat the Saints on a boat. And if you must know, Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii.
You always feel, I have to say though, you always feel like you're missing history.
You do. Yeah. You really do. I missed the one good Kirk Cousins.
You say that a lot.
That wasn't Diggs' walk-off though, right? Because Diggs' walk-off was from Sam Bradford.
No, Diggs' walk-off was from Case Keenum.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So
you just watched a regular Kirk Cousins playoff game instead of it doesn't sound like it was a honeymoon, but doing honeymoon level activities. And are you okay? Do I need to ask this? This sounds not good.
It was a family moon. And I pulled up the end of my game. We were done snorkeling. They were just serving pretzels or something. I'm getting panic texts Kirk Cousins might actually win a game. I'm like, oh my God, hold on. This can't actually happen.
I've only been on one cruise in my life, and when I took it, it was the Beast Mode. I watched Beast Mode the Marshawn Lynch run. Nice. I saw that on a cruise ship. I did see a lot.
Beastquake run.
Beastquake, yeah.
Where was the cruise?
We went to the Caribbean. Went to various islands in the Caribbean.
Yeah, like Mobile Bay, Tupelo,
St. Thomas.
okay. Sorry, I thought you had a golf cruise.
Not Curacao. St. Martin. St. Martin we went to.
St. Martin, yeah.
I'll let you guys know when I recognize any of these things. Keep going.
Kyle will let you know when he's ever been on a boat or a plane. He's still not of age.
Be clear, I'll never go on a boat.
Denny will never go on a boat. Well, maybe you will go on a boat.
Strong stance for a Maryland guy. I mean, how do you get the crabs?
Denny, maybe you'll be able to.
You don't have to go get them yourself. Go ahead, Matt.
You might be able to afford a boat after you once again win hundreds of thousands of dollars betting on the New York Giants this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Again. Because of course that happened to me last week.
Exactly. I'm sure you placed a $10 bet on that, and that's how betting works, right? If you bet $10 on an underdog, they just give you $100,000, right?
I think that's how it does work.
Unless
I'm mistaken.
Depends on the
It
tournament.
depends. I was going to say it depends on the state too. Like some states have
not legal in my state, so I don't know how any of that works. We'll get to the Giants and the Eagles in a minute, but we begin in Kansas City, where the Chiefs finally welcome themselves to the postseason with their 5th straight divisional round home game. Denny, that is all 5 years of the Patrick Mahomes era, and they have yet to lose any of their first 4. I've also been informed, though, that Trevor Lawrence has never lost a game on a Saturday. Beyond that, what is the Jaguars' path to an upset here, coming off a wild card win that defined the phrase "tale of two halves"?
I desperately want to say that there are 2 paths to Jacksonville pulling an upset here, and the one I want to say is you go toe to toe with Mahomes and Kelsey, and you just go all out, hurry up, move the ball as fast as possible, be aggressive downfield with your receivers and your tight end. But I just don't see that panning out in the end because the Jacksonville defense is so vulnerable on the back end. I think the Jags have to make it ugly, and that would probably mean a lot of running. It would probably mean a lot of Travis Etienne. The Chiefs are not exactly like stout against the run. They allow the 15th highest rush EPA. Like, no one's like afraid to run against Kansas City, but hardly anyone is ever in position to do so. Kansas City does play, I believe, the second most 2 high safety coverage, which provides for some favorable running situations, later boxes. So if Doug Peterson wants to kind of muddy up this game, and I hate to say it, but establish it, I think that is probably the way to slow down the Mahomes machine and give yourself some chance here.
Denny, it sounds like kind of cliche to say that, but I mean, it really is just the tried and true way. It's really the only plausible way a lot of times to win these kind of games.
And when the inferior team is inferior for a reason, like you have to make it a weird game, like the Dolphins last week. They were making it a very weird game.
They kept it weird. They kept Buffalo weird in that one.
That was a strange thing that was happening, and it was ugly, right? It was a very ugly game. That was the only way Miami was going to be able to compete there.
Anybody have any counter thoughts on how this game might unfold, might develop? So, I mean, the Jaguars say the Chiefs go up 14-0 in the first quarter. Can the Jaguars even keep up at all? Or Kyle, what were your thoughts on the game there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for some teams, they don't have the option to score points, right? Like when you look at the Skylar Thompson team, it was going to really be a struggle for them to literally just put points on the board.
They needed turnovers, and they did get the turnovers.
And they still didn't win, right? They didn't have options to score points. The Jags at least have options. And I think they should not attempt to muddy up this game, because really what that means is you're saying we're going to try and score fewer points on offense, but lower the total. And I don't that doesn't disincentivize the Chiefs to score.
What if they have the
on
under
their drives? That the Chiefs, if you say we're going to just lower the total drives in the game, but ours are going to suck more, the Chiefs aren't going to suck anymore. They're just going to get fewer drives, but score just as many points on those drives. So maybe you inject some variance, but it's the cost of scoring fewer points almost by design, whereas they at least have a pretty good offense. Trevor Lawrence has been one of the stronger, not elite, but one of the stronger quarterbacks in EPA per play this year. We saw he can turn on the Jets as he did in the second half of last week. And they, they're not a team that cannot go out there and, I don't want to say go toe to toe with the Chiefs, but they can try and score points and bring it to a 60-40. They're probably going to lose game, but I don't know if the way to contend with the Chiefs is to try and score fewer points by design.
Yeah, you go, Crane.
I kind of think it is, just because like I think the Jaguars defense is incredibly vulnerable to the pass. They rank 30th in DVOA against the pass. They rank behind the Falcons. They rank behind the Titans. They rank ahead of only the Raiders and the Chargers.
They're a bit better in EPA. They're like, I mean, they're below average, but
they are better in EPA.
They are better in EPA for sure.
They're better in EPA because they've played an incredibly soft schedule. They've gotten the Jets, the Texans, and the Titans to close their season. The Chargers have struggled a lot this year, and we're putting up some points against them, and then stopped. But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be just able to sling it against these guys. So yeah. I would be trying to limit his possessions, and I'm normally someone who's like, don't be a coward, unleash your offense. But I think that the Jaguars really do have an incentive to try to hide their defense, limit possessions to an extent, establish ETN, and they've played balanced all season. That's, I think, what they're going to try to do. If that doesn't work, they are in a pretty decent position because Lawrence is good, and Lawrence has played well all year. And so if it comes to it, they can probably get into a shootout. But I think they probably have a better chance of, betting on the ball to bounce weird a couple times on a couple Chiefs possessions and make this a coin flip. Because, in terms of who's better, I think the Chiefs are much, much better.
I think it might come down more on the Kyle side where first, the Chiefs, they're going to have an amazing opening series scripted as they always do. We all know all about the Andy Reid, like rest narratives, all that narrative, because it is true. I think the Chiefs will come out probably in very, very fine form and probably will have an early lead. And I just think we might not even see the pretense of a Jaguars running game this week, even though you and Denny made compelling points, Pat, but they had very ill-fated run-ins with establishing it against the Titans, especially in week 18. Wasn't so much trying to establish it against the Chargers that got them behind. It was Trevor Lawrence throwing an interception every fourth pass. But I still think Titans in theory, you got to muck it up, but I think they're going to have to come out slinging it from basically the opening whistle. And I think that they will.
I don't think they will. I mean, they tried to establish it against the Josh Dobbs Titans, who are a massive pass funnel. That's philosophical. You don't do that unless you're philosophically.
They learned their lesson.
See, we talked about this last week, so we don't have to. I think it's almost like it's like situational in that, like, dude, you're playing Josh Dobbs, because the first time they played the Titans, they routed them through the air. That was the big Evan Ingram game. That's why I'll never forget it. But in the second time, once the team gets Josh Dobbs, like, I think it was wrong. I think you should just drop. Who cares who's the opposing quarterback? Drop 40, right?
You can't keep up. It's actually more incentive to pass it, in my opinion.
Right, yeah. I think it's too, but I think a coach can logic his way into saying, like, we only need 20. Let's play low variance and score 20. I think he's wrong, right? But I think that could have been the rationale. And there's, like, a framework in which it makes sense. I don't think it's the right framework, but I think you could argue it.
So I wanted to mention Jacksonville was 9% over their expected pass rate when these teams played in the regular season. But, that was negative game script. I know that pass rate over expected doesn't work exactly like that, but they weren't conservative in that game. Hopefully they won't be here. But I do agree with Crane in saying that Doug Peterson, I think, wants to be super conservative. He just does.
I mean, it's weird though too. There's so many like layers because Doug Peterson, an ex Andy Reid assistant, they're probably like game theorying like the hell out of each other this week. He's probably, what will Andy do? Mm-hmm. And how do I need to
what Andy's going to do? I would be shocked if they don't come out and just pass. It's such a good matchup for them.
See, what's the weather in Kansas City on Sunday? I actually don't know. I'm just going to filibuster until I have Kansas City weather on my phone. Because come on, it's another big city in my state.
Yeah, I mean, I figure just like how many drives can you limit the Chiefs to, and does cutting off a drive really make a difference for them? Whereas you're doing that at the expense of, like, let's try and burn clock with 1st and 10 runs. Even Travis Etienne's very good, but like Lawrence has been pretty good this year, and we know passing is much more efficient, and he's been incredible against man, and the Chiefs run a bit more man than league average. So I think they may try and come out and do the let's try and muck it up strategy. I just don't think that's a winning strategy for teams that can put up points, for teams that have Skylar Thompson.
I'm Team Kyle.
Yeah, you're probably right. So the thing about the, like, the issue with going toe to toe with Mahomes is that if you are right, and they're gonna get absolutely crushed.
Like, I don't think they'll get crushed because I think Trevor Lawrence is very good. They'll lose, but I think he can put up points.
So in EPA per game, Trevor Lawrence has 4.8 EPA per game. Patrick Mahomes has 13.1 EPA per game. The gap between him going down to Hurts, who's at 2, is almost 4.7 points. He's almost a Trevor Lawrence better than the next best quarterback. Yeah. Like, Patrick Mahomes is gapping the field in terms of EPA this year. It's not just that he's efficient on a per play basis. It's that the entire offense runs through him, and he's still the most efficient quarterback. It's a massive, massive advantage that the Chiefs have going against this pass defense. I would love it. I would love it if they go toe to toe with Mahomes, because we're going to see fireworks. I just don't think they have the guts to do it. And I get it.
What if I blew you guys' mind and told you that according to the Apple Weather app, there's a wintry mix symbol for Saturday in Kansas City?
I don't care if the wind's down. If there's wind, let me know if there's wind.
We should have someone look into the weather. But speaking of the weather, if there was a poor weather game, Kyle, the running game would, of course, become more important. We just debated how important the running game might be in this game. We don't think it'll be very important for the Chiefs because it never is, but it could be getting shaken up after a pretty stable late season equilibrium. So Isaiah Pacheco as a primary early down back, Jerick McKinnon, almost like Austin Eckler as a pass catcher. Clyde Edwards-Helaire seems likely to be active for the first time since week 11.
I got bad news. Andy Reid said earlier today it's probably not going to be active.
All right, well, never mind then. So
he was designated to return earlier in the week, but they have 3 weeks basically up until the Super Bowl, assuming they go there, to actually activate him, or he'd land back on IR. So, but like you said, I was going to say it doesn't really matter. It makes the backfield slightly less enticing, but we want the pass catching role out of the backfield because they're totally going to light up the Jags through the air for sure. So we weren't too interested when it's a committee. You could throw some DFS darts on Pacheco because they're going to put up points. Maybe they get down to the 2 and Pacheco gets it in, but that's the extent of the argument for him. It's stronger now though that it looks unlikely there's a Clyde Edwards-Helaire risk.
I should read the website called Rotoworld.
You should once in a while. I mean, not every day, but definitely once.
read the website called Rotoworld.
It's worth checking on.
Rotoworld.gov. Kerrane, is it happening with Kadarius Toney, who saw his role expanded ever so slightly down the stretch? He's going to be as healthy as he has been all year with 2 weeks rest. They need a second weapon. I guess unless you count Jerick McKinnon, they don't have a second weapon. Is it going to happen? Every year it's happened to the playoffs. Someone kind of gets unleashed. Someone surprising kind of goes on a run. Can it be Kadarius Toney for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always interesting to see, who the team is getting involved as the season closes. And, with 6 routes, it is interesting to see Blake Bell out there. Kadarius Toney. They had the same number of routes, so I mixed them up. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yikes.
A third of the routes of Justin Watson, 18 routes for Watson, 6 for Toney. Noah Gray had 15 routes. Jerick McKinnon had 13 as a running back. He's a bit player right now. You could, I guess, project a huge increase, but I don't know why you would do that. He's got a season high.
We project an increase.
His season high is 17 routes with the Chiefs, and actually in total. He ran 15 routes at his peak in week 2 with the Giants. So, I mean, I think, on a per route basis, he's highly efficient. He's going to look good anytime he's out there and touches the ball, but it's not going to be a lot of times. I think as far as ancillary pieces go, I think Justin Watson's just as good of a bet. He's going to be out there running deep routes. Maybe he catches a touchdown. That's, I think, a similar, it's a less fun bet, but it's a similar bet.
That's right. Yeah, they're the opposite sides of the coin, right? Justin Watson is one of the least efficient players on a per route basis. He is a wind sprinter. He sprints a lot. He is out there a lot, and his quarterback has a cannon. And Toney is the flip side of that coin, where he gets the ball when he's out there. He'll probably be the best player on the field in any game this weekend who plays less than 20 snaps.
Are any of you sick people playing Justin Watson and DFS on the 2-game slate?
Oh, I mean, totally, dude.
Right. If you're trying to stack this game, you have to save some salary somewhere. I mean, Kelsey and Mahomes together are killer salary wise. So yeah.
Are you playing Watson in any 4-game slates? Please tell me.
I can
no.
still be. I can still be talking to that. Yeah.
Talk me into it. Yeah.
What is wrong with you people?
Pat, you don't. There is no limit to the weirdness that can happen in a.
For me, there is. It's a moral question.
No.
At a certain point, it's not about money. It's about morals and ethics.
I last week I was legitimately excited to play T.Y. Hilton. I was like buzzing. I was like, oh hell yeah, like T.Y. he's gonna win me all the money. Like,
did he even play? I don't remember them saying his name.
Yeah, he played. I don't think much.
He caught 2 balls for 23 yards, and he just.
Why do you know that? Did you know that?
Why do you think he knows it? Because he jammed him.
I did too, but I don't know that.
He's now penniless.
2 of 4 targets. He got 2 of 4 targets, 23 yards. He led the team in air yards. So there. The process.
Wait, really?
The process.
We're going back.
He ran 2 dig routes. He ran 1 slant.
Oh no,
he
Kyle,
had
we're
2 really good run blocking reps.
We're all the way back in. Let me tell you.
Oh, hell yeah.
My God. Dear God.
Hey, Sky Moore practiced in full Wednesday and Thursday.
I can't wait to watch him up and
Thank you.
punt.
What is going on with these Chiefs? I thought
Just mention it. Just mention it.
I thought CH might be playing. I thought Tony might be ticketed for more snaps. Now you're telling me Sky Moore is the thing again.
That sounds like you had hope, and you should not have.
No, it's true. Hope is a very, very dangerous thing. Denny, how do we prioritize Jaguars pass catchers in DFS? Where I feel like it's like on a weekly basis, we never know if Kirk's going to have the yards, Zay or Evan Ingram are going to have the yards. How do we prioritize these guys against the Chiefs in a game with a 53 total?
Right. So I wrote this up. By the way, I meant to mention the content. I wrote this up in my DFS piece that's on the website right now. If folks would like to check that out. Basically, all the too high safety stuff that the Chiefs play, it actually increases when they're leading by a significant margin. And that should leave a lot of really soft intermediate pockets for Zay Jones and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram to an extent, where you're probably not going to get the downfield shot. You're not going to get that long Zay Jones touchdown that you got last week somehow against LA. But I do think that like a negative game script for the Jags, like they had when these teams played in the regular season, could end up being really good fantasy wise for especially Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk caught 9 of, I believe, 11 targets when these teams played last time, including a touchdown. He was the most targeted, led the team in expected receiving fantasy points. So, Kirk would be my priority, but I think that you can mix it up with all of these guys as run back options. And actually, you could do two of these guys, 2 of Ingram, Jones, or Kirk if you are going heavy on the Chiefs.
I'm assuming the Chiefs will not be copying the Chargers' second half defensive game plan against the Jaguars.
I would guess not. Yeah.
That allowed them to just run absolutely wild. And for Trevor Lawrence to go 18 of 23 for 211 second up yards. I'm assuming we will not see that from the Chargers. Any final thoughts on this game, or is it time to move on? Time to move on.
Just as far as Ingram, I just want to mention the Chiefs are sort of a middling matchup for tight ends. They allow 4.8 receptions per game, 17th most. But I mean, Ingram's running a route on 85% of the team's dropbacks, and you don't get that very much with a tight end. I actually think that it opens up the potential for a 2 tight end lineup in tournaments where you throw in Ingram and Kelsey.
All right, you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks, and we'll be right back after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, the Premier League, and the divisional round, including a shot at $100,000 by guessing the outcome between the Jaguars and the Chiefs. Just as the Chiefs are finally arriving in the playoffs, the same is true of the Eagles, who survived a late season Jalen Hurts injury-induced swoon to still earn the NFC's number 1 seed. They're hosting the Giants, who looked almost literally unstoppable against the Vikings' hapless defense in the wild card round. Denny, we started with you last game too, but we have to stick with you here. You guaranteed the Giants would win in round 1. What would it take for the Giants to repeat the feat against an Eagles defense that is an order of magnitude greater as a challenge?
Right. I mean, we talked about this on the Monday show. The whole drop back 35, 40 times thing probably doesn't work as well against a stellar Eagles secondary, whereas it worked very well against Vikings secondary that is just so bad.
One of the most pathetic defensive performances I've ever seen.
I mean, really, like truly, I had kind of forgotten how bad Minnesota was.
Because no one ever voluntarily watches the Vikings or Kirk Cousins, but
only for my job, really. So I don't think we'll see that here. What I do think we should see if they can keep it close, if the Giants can keep it close, or even maybe take a lead here, is because first of all, the Giants defense is going to be way healthier this week than they were when these teams met in the regular season for the one game where all the starters played.
His Giants fans will not stop reminding
I know.
me. Hey, we were missing 3 Hall of Famers last time. I don't know, you heard?
All right,
I think they're all
right. So if they can keep it close, I think that we'll see a lot of rushing, a lot of design rushing attempts for Daniel Jones and a lot of Saquon Barkley together. Jones had 11 design rushes last week, season high. I think that we could easily see that again here. He has double-digit rushing attempts, and I think in 3 of his past 5 games. So that's great. That's amazing for his fantasy value. As for the Giants' offense in total, I'm not interested really in the outside receivers. I'm way more interested.
They have outside receivers?
I mean, Hodgins and Slayton, mostly. I'm way more interested in Richie James specifically, and also Bellinger, who continues to run an amazing number of routes. If he gets up, like I've made this joke before, 110% routes, he could see 6 targets here.
Producer, can we add in some canned laughter? We have like that going on, right?
So yeah, that's sort of how I see it. Now, if this game spirals out of control, Daniel Jones is going to have to drop back a ton against the secondary.
Crane, I saw you nodding in affirmation a lot. The Denny's breakdown. You have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that the Giants are definitely one of those teams that seems to be like game planning for their opponent in a sharp way. I think, we had high expectations for Brian Daboll coming in as, a really sharp offensive mind. The Giants did not go as pass heavy as maybe we thought they might this year, because that's what we were used to with Daboll with the Bills. But, he doesn't have Josh Allen anymore. And they've been hiding Daniel Jones in a lot of spots, but it's a little bit similar to what the Lions have done, where when they get a chance to kind of like press their advantage or, set Daniel Jones up for success, they'll do it. And that was a situation last week. They're going against a really bad Vikings secondary. But here, yeah, I think they could like totally flip. I think they could go super conservative. And they've been, over the course of the season, they've been kind of a run first team. And I think against the Eagles, it makes a ton of sense to try to slow this game down, limit how many tough spots you're putting Daniel Jones in, try to limit any mistakes that he's gonna create, and also use his legs, to Denny's point. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a pretty different offensive game plan here out of the Giants.
Denny and I kind of talked about this on Tuesday too. I mean, maybe at this point they're planning to re-sign Daniel Jones, but there could be an element of, I made the Rocky joke, like if he dies, he dies. Like they're going to run Daniel Jones and not be too worried about him taking hits. And like, because there's probably not much of a path to them winning this game without Daniel Jones operating as a dual threat, which he did with, pretty shocking regularity this season. But I seen like no path to a Giants upset does not involve a pretty healthy amount of at least 60 to 70 yards of Daniel Jones rushing. I think we're probably all in agreement on that, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's the path. And Saquon needs to have a big game. And I mean, another kind of team who's probably going to try to control the clock a little bit. And then also, like, I think with the Giants, if you're kind of game planning from the Giants side, there's this unknown on the other side with Hurts of how aggressive are the Eagles really even going to be willing to be, because you might get like this kind of added bump to a run heavy game plan where the Eagles come out and are also run heavy, which would be kind of incredible if you're the Giants. They beat the Packers that way. Like when teams go conservative against the Giants, it allows the Giants to do exactly what they want to do. And, again, this is a situation where they should be pretty happy with the coin flip.
Well, yeah, Pat, that's what I'm going to ask you about now, where it's been over a month since we've seen the real Eagles, basically. Before Jalen Hurts got a shoulder injured, he, of course, played in Week 18 against the same team that was starting Davis Webb, and the whole operation was pretty uninspiring. And a game where both teams just wanted to get in and get out, basically. So what do we expect their offensive approach to be? Because we don't know Jalen Hurts' true shoulder health status. It's hard to believe he's probably 100%, but they managed it about as well as possible to get him as close as possible to 100% for this game. What do we expect to see from the Eagles' offensive approach?
Well, so one thing I've been noting this year with the Eagles is that if they can't protect Hurts all that well, it really changes their offensive approach. The Giants rank 9th in quick pressure rate this season. So that's pressures within 2.5 seconds or less. They're getting to the quarterback pretty quickly. That's been the big weakness for the Eagles. It makes me a little bit less excited about their downfield passing game. And A.J. Brown has been the key to that. Plus, we have this uncertainty around Hurts' shoulder. We also, that uncertainty would make you a little bit more nervous about how much Hurts runs the ball, which makes me feel like we might see some additional short game passing stuff. So maybe some more stuff to Devontae Smith, who's been used a lot more on screens than A.J. Brown. Maybe some of that to Dallas Goedert, who's been he's seen 24% of his targets on screens. A.J. Brown just 5%, Devontae Smith at 14.4%. So you're seeing Brown maybe not quite so involved when the team has to kind of like pivot to a little bit more of a conservative style of passing game, even though they're still pass first. I probably expect the Eagles to kind of live in that range this week. I don't think they'll go super run first. My guess is that they'll probably be aware the Giants may try to establish it against them, and they may need to kind of put up points to force Daniel Jones dropbacks. But I guess like my favorite version of the Eagles is the one that's chucking it downfield to AJ Brown.
Yeah,
I don't know we're getting. Yeah, I don't think we're getting that one this week. I mean, we certainly could, but I would say that the favorite is more kind of like more intermediate passing, a little bit more screens. Devontae Smith, I think, set up pretty well here.
Yeah, that middle brow approach probably is, I think, the most likely prediction for sure, because I know it's the divisional round, but I'm sure it's tempting for the Eagles to think like we're the heavy favorites in this game, both in Las Vegas and probably in their minds. Like we know that we have a talent advantage in almost every position group on the entire roster over this Giants team. It will probably be tempting to be fairly conservative, try to keep Jalen Hurts healthy heading into a possible NFC Championship game appearance, and that they might not really cut him loose until like it's close in the second half. I feel like
that's such a dangerous formula.
It is. And I mean, I know they'll try to avoid that, and the Eagles have been really, really good at like having intelligent game plans and like not playing scared. But I mean, it is this human. I'm sure it's in all the back of their minds, like protect Jalen Hurts' shoulder for one more week ahead of the game that gets us to the Super Bowl.
I mean, he wasn't on the injury report this week, and I know what you're saying. I mean, the Eagles messed around with the Giants backups in week 18.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was a concerning performance.
It was a little more understandable because I mean, I'm assuming that they could have turned it on to beat Davis Webb. Maybe, hopefully.
It wasn't great.
I don't know. I feel like I'm trying not to use the word momentum. I'm desperately
expired.
But you know what I mean. By the way, Goddard, good play here. Wrote him up in my piece. The Giants allow 10.5 yards per catch to tight ends. That's a top 2 rate in the league. And Goddard's hyper efficient in I'm not going to quote 15 stats, but trust me, he's efficient. So you get that.
Kyle, I was going to ask you about the backfield layout in this game. The Eagles' defensive vulnerability all year was on the ground, and we outlined the reasons the Giants might have a more conservative game plan and set up well for Saquon Barkley. So I guess the question is more, I mean, Miles Sanders season question mark, who had an extremely frustrating end to the season. What do we say about Miles Sanders in this game?
I mean, you know who Miles Sanders is.
Boy, do I ever. And do I plan on never knowing again?
Yeah. I mean, like, I do think that and I totally agree that they could, I don't want to say like be looking past the Giants, but thinking about how do we string together wins, not just this week, but in a 3-game stretch, right? That's the goal, that they could try and opt to also play this one, in the trenches running as a long-term outlook, or at least a longer than 1 week term. And that'd be really good for Miles Sanders because he's not out there for all the routes. He's actually been running fewer routes than Kenneth Gainwell over the past 5 weeks, just barely. But, he's just a guy between the tackles. Also, maybe if they're a little afraid of using Jalen Hurts as a runner because he was just dominant in the red zone. I mean, essentially the best season ever for a quarterback in terms of expected rushing volume in the red zone. if that doesn't come back, that's maybe even more work for Miles Sanders in touchdown scoring opportunities.
Yeah, and hey, at least there's not another 2 running backs mixing in at the goal line.
and
guy,
I don't know
man.
if you guys know this. I don't know if you've been on Twitter anytime since basically since we knew the Giants were going to play the Eagles. Boston Scott destroys the Giants. He has never not scored against the Giants. Boston Scott has faced the Giants 8 times and has at least a touchdown in every game.
Wow.
10 total touchdowns. Yeah.
I knew that it was crazy. I didn't know that he had scored in
At
8
least a
different
touchdown,
games.
and he has like a 3 touchdown game against them, which is where the other 2 come from.
Wow.
It's analytics.
There's something very personal going on there, either between Boston Scott and the Giants, or like Nick Sirianni, like, yo, we're getting Scott as Tutter. You better believe it.
And the thing is, Boston Scott saw like 9 carries last week, and it was not garbage time. He was out there like on the Eagles' non-kneel down final drive getting carries, and Hurts was out there too. So I wouldn't read into that too much. It's a 1-game sample. And like we said, maybe in that respect, they were also taking their foot off the gas with their backfield touches, but like it is like the level of committee which we are seeing here is concerning for a team that we're not sure how potent relative to what they were 7 weeks ago, a bit ago. We're not sure how potent they are relative to that team.
It's also not like a 1-game sample of stuff happening that's not good for Miles Sanders. Like,
We're going on several 5 to 6 games.
Yeah. Like the Kenneth Gainwell, 4 straight carries from inside the 20, ending in a Gardner Minshew quarterback sneak against the Cowboys.
How is that a real sentence? Why?
It's just so rough. It's so rough for a 2-down, like that, no passing value.
Yeah.
Fantasy back. It's just you can't have that.
You go, Denny.
The one thing Miles Sanders will have going for him, DFS-wise, is very low rostership compared to.
That's what I was going to say. And I think now, since Jalen Hurts missed the final month of the season, he does lead the team and lead the backfield by a wide margin in red zone work. He doesn't see all of it. Like, he's not Saquon from that perspective. But
yeah,
he could, you could see him stumbling into 2 touchdowns. And if he does that, he'll be the guy you need. But
I mean, he still has upside.
If this was a 12-game slate, we wouldn't be talking about this.
No. But in a short slate, I mean, if you don't have at least one play that makes you want to dry heave, you're probably doing it wrong.
With Miles Sanders too.
Denny's never been more comfortable in his life.
Yeah, and that's where Denny is most at home, when he's dry heaving over.
He's just gleefully dry heaving at his computer.
Well, that's the one.
Oh, that felt good.
And I'm going to deposit several $100s on hand-built lineups playing this guy. And we know they're going to come out, run heavy and conservative, the Eagles. Then Miles Sanders is losing a fumble inside the 30-yard line. It's basically already canon. It's happening. If you guys were in a boomer points-only league that goes through the playoffs, hypothetically.
Oh my God! This league is still going on.
Hold on.
You have to set your line.
Hold on. Would you play Jerick McKinnon or Miles Sanders?
Oh, what?
Jerick
McKinnon.
Yeah, I'd play McKinnon.
You said touchdown only, right?
It's not touchdown only. It's
long
distance
scoring
scoring. It's yardage bonuses.
Wait, why wouldn't you play McKinnon? Am I missing something?
He has no shot at 100 yards from scrimmage.
Oh.
Is that part? We don't know what the scoring rules is. Does that matter?
Yeah, does he need 100 rushing yards or 100 receiving yards?
100 combined. 100 combined.
Oh, he could get.
I like how you're dismissed.
I don't know if he's ever got. Has McKinnon had 100
We're not a
yards
weird
from scrimmage all season? I don't think so.
Definitely, 100%.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
he must have.
Well, let's
He
look.
had like 2 30-point
Let's
games.
find out real quick. Let's see what the computer says, huh? He did twice. Well, it's only twice though.
It's got to be twice over the past like 8 weeks, though, right?
How many
think it was a lot
does
more
Sanders
than
do it? 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Probably never. He did it every week. I didn't play him. I'll tell you that.
Upside, I think.
That's what I was gonna say. Regardless of this dumb yards from scrimmage,
It's not
100-yard thing that continues into the playoffs, and I think you said it'll play. You have to pick Shrine Bowl players,
You do.
and then
Yeah,
the
you do.
7-on-7
That's
game.
always
Eric
hard.
Froton is funneling me information on that.
Touchdown upside. Jerick McKinnon, he plays for the Chiefs, and he's the running back who catches the passes, which in that case is good for touchdowns.
Yeah, I think I'm going Tutty chasing with Jerick McKinnon over Miles Sanders. We've been talking on this game for a really long time. I'll open it to the floor. I mean, who are the pass catching plays you really like in DFS on either side in this game? We'll start with you, Denny, since you have the article on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to consider Travis Kelce. time, man. Sorry.
We're not even talking about that game anymore. Giants Eagles.
Yeah, we're talking Giants.
Oh, I thought
Giants
you
Eagles.
just meant
Look,
general.
honestly, when I'm
No,
watching,
I'm
We
sorry.
talked about that game
Eagles-
so long that we reverted.
I
We
know,
went
sorry.
backwards in the.
when I'm watching Giant Eagles, I'm still be thinking about Travis Kelce,
Right.
right? As much as you think you want me to say like play Daniel Bellinger in my thought bubbles, Travis Kelce.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned Richie James. The Eagles have struggled against the slot. Not so much struggled as teams just don't want to go outside. They don't want to throw it to the boundaries against those cornerbacks in the Philadelphia secondary. So they funnel stuff inside. And Richie James has a really good route rate going over the past like 6 or 7 weeks. And here's the best thing DFS wise, he's coming off a down game, and Isaiah Hodgins is coming off a great game. And I think that naturally sort of the rostership will funnel toward Hodgins, maybe even Slayton, and maybe get off of James a little bit. And James is, as Pat Daugherty would say, a PPR scam, like a living, breathing PPR scam.
The FBI is closing in.
I'm all about it this week.
All right, we can move on from this game. I think we put that one to bed. And a rematch of the game that did not happen in Week 17. The Bills host the Bengals is rather robust, 5.5-point home favorites. Neither team looked all that impressive in the wild card round, but they survived and advanced. Pat Kerrane. We will begin with the Bills. Have Josh Allen's turnovers become a genuine concern for this offense, or is this kind of just the price of doing Allen business? And he's on an unusually unlucky interception streak, as he tries to compensate for the lack of a backfield running game or the lack of maybe legitimate receivers behind Stephon Diggs.
Or the lack of his receivers not tossing the ball up into the air for the
that too.
defenders to have.
There's a cottage industry now of excusing every single Josh Allen turnover. What about the strip sack fumble 6, huh?
Well,
Which receiver knocked that one in the air?
This cottage industry started with the Dak Prescott excuses, and that went pretty well. So we're feeling okay about.
I have to say, Kyle, you were on it. You were on the excuse train for Dak, and you were right.
I know.
But
what's funny is there's gonna be like, oh yeah, Dak's interceptions don't count. Oh yeah, Josh Allen's interceptions don't count. And then there's someone in the back like, yeah, Zach Wilson's interceptions, they don't count. Like,
but yeah, Kerrane, I think you're going to start it does feel a little bit like the Patrick Mahomes interception streak from 2021 to me, where it's just a really, really good player who can do things other players can't. Being kind of unlucky, but yeah, what do we think about this continuing turnover binge from Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of that, and it's maybe a mix of some of the stuff we're seeing from Trevor Lawrence, where it's like there's some mess ups. He's thrown some interceptions in the end zone, in the red zone, and he's done that throughout the season, Josh Allen, and that's definitely a concern, But he ranks 3rd in success rate this year. Patrick Mahomes ranks 1st. Dak Prescott actually ranks 2nd, which again goes to the kind of, these probably overblown interception concern with both players. And then Allen's 3rd. Lawrence is actually 4th. It's not that, the success rate's the percentage of plays that you're producing a positive EPA. So it's going to basically heavily downweight big explosive plays and negative plays like interceptions. Allen gives you some of both. If he was just kind of like a dink and dunk guy who was giving you backbreaking interceptions along the way, that would be a problem. but we know he's going to be able to deliver huge plays for you as well. So I don't think it's like a major concern. It's definitely like if you're trying to think through how they lose this game, I think that's part of the equation. And one of the most likely ways is that he tosses a really ill-timed interception or two. And that's certainly very plausible. But I mean, he's also one of the most deadly quarterbacks in the league. I don't think anything's changed in that.
Yeah, to me, it's a concern, not from like a Josh Allen perspective, just from a Bills offensive perspective as a whole. Like this is happening. Some of it is bad Allen decisions, but it's just he's forced to be the hero so often now because we see they're giving legitimate snaps to John Brown and Cole Beasley and Shakir. And like the running game has never developed basically. And it's just so much on one man's shoulders. But if you're going to do it for anyone, he is quite capable. And one of these games, he's going to have a turnover-free game, and they're going to score like 48 points.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it won't be against the Cincinnati. But anyone have anything to add about the Josh Allen outlook that Kerrane just laid out?
I just feel like there's just like no scenario in which Josh Allen fails.
He came dangerously close against the Dolphins.
Well, I just mean for fantasy or DFS. Like,
Oh yeah, no,
he throws picks, throws terrible picks, lazy looking picks, fumbles the ball and all this stuff, and he still has 28, 30 fantasy points. It's like he's just so hard to fade because it's hard to concoct a story in your head where he doesn't get there.
Yeah, he will not fail in fantasy. That is very, very certain. You heard it here first. Literally no way Josh Allen has a bad DFS day in the divisional round. Challenge accepted. Kyle, you have become our offensive line guy. On the other side of the ball, the Cincinnati Bengals left tackle Jonah Williams is sidelined with a dislocated kneecap. He is sidelined, right? I'm not making this
I don't think
up.
he's technically been ruled out as of today, but all the beats are like, yep, he's not playing.
He's not going to play. How big are Joe Burrow's protection concerns in this contest, and what are the implications? Because he's not. Are they down 3 starters again?
Yeah, Lyle Collins went out weeks ago at this point. He wasn't having particularly good.
He was having a horrible year.
Yeah, I don't want to pile on him too much. He's hurt, but it wasn't a great season. But from a continuity perspective, like their backups aren't going to be good.
It's depth you don't have.
Yeah, it's depth you don't have. Like the reason he was starting, maybe it's a little bit of his contract, but part of the reason he's starting is you assume he's better than the backups. And more important, or at least as importantly, given that he's probably at least this season been as good/bad as the backups, it's just continuity. And we're going to see that not only Collins from a few weeks ago, like you said, Jonah Williams, right guard, Alex Kappa, and they are, like you said, they didn't have a great offensive line this year. That should tell you something about the backups, and it's going to be rough, right? At left tackle, it looks like we're going to get Jackson Carman, who was a rookie guard last year.
Never played tackle before.
Yeah, and he has been inactive almost every game this year. Like they weren't even bringing him as a backup. He will be, it looks like, starting at left tackle, and then they're kicking out Hakeem Adeniji to right tackle. You may remember Hakeem Adeniji as playing right guard in the Super Bowl last year and getting tossed around by Aaron Donald. Difficult matchup, but this is a problem. And it is a problem for a team that can't really afford it, given how much Joe Burrow walks into pressures. Like, obviously, some of it is on him, but we don't want to present him with more opportunities to hurt his team with these sacks. So he's going to be given ample chances to do what has been his Achilles heel. It is a very bad time for this team to have these specific injuries.
He needs to get hit just to feel alive. And they're going to be...
He does take a lot of sacks.
He does. He took fewer down the stretch. He was still... I think he took at least 2 each of the final 3 weeks of the season, but he took like genuinely fewer sacks the final third of the season. And we saw that the issues immediately reappeared. Jonah Williams is not some like star left tackle, but the issues got immediately worse against the Ravens the second he went out of that game. And their passing attack was pretty discombobulated against the Ravens. And so, I mean, are we worried? Are we going to still get, I mean, the total's 48.5. You could argue that's low for these 2 offensive superpowers. Are we worried at all about the Bengals not holding up their end of the shootout bargain in DFS?
Yeah, I actually do. Yeah, I have concerns about this environment in general. I think the Bengals offensive line situation, the Bengals, solid defense, both rush defense and pass defense, and their like willingness to play a lot of 2 high safeties against Josh Allen and make him check down and have long drives. I don't know. I think that this is sort of a trap environment. It seems good. Bengals, Bills, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow going head to head, but I think it could be a little lower scoring than we think.
There could be some minor weather concerns where it seems like it's going to be snowing a little bit during the game, but it's actually above freezing, like 33, 34 degrees. It does not appear windy. Doesn't really seem like the kind of precipitation that's going to affect the playing conditions. I guess something to keep an eye on. It is Buffalo. The weather could change. This group discussion now on DFS, I mean, we know like the priorities are, of course, the good players on a 4-game slate, but especially on a 2-game slate. Who are some of like the sicko plays? As we know, everyone is in play. Let's hear your favorite sicko plays, guys, for Bengals versus Broncos, or Bengals versus Bills.
Who do we have as?
Danny, come on, you've always got something truly.
I don't mind. I don't mind the Bengals like shorter A-dot guys if
Right.
they do. I think an easy way to mitigate. Maybe it isn't like the best game plan, but an obvious one to mitigate what will be a high pressure environment for Burrow would be to just continue to attempt to take layups. And all the guys are like good to some degree at yards after the catch. It's just a measure of like where they are getting their targets. And for Boyd and Hurst, that will be like short drop off type of stuff. Even true of Joe Mixon, though. Like Jamar Chase also he plays like a running back sometimes. God,
they use him on screens too.
Yeah,
so Jamar Chase is always going to be involved. No
I think the one that would concern me would be like T. Higgins. He is more of the guys they have, clearly the most like downfield specific threat. So the line concerns would have me moving away from him, and not as much like Kerrane said as Chase, who he's more of a truly can win in any scenario.
I think, yeah, if you're stacking Burrow, I think you're going, you got to go Chase because he gets a lot of the short area stuff when they have to do that. So Chase and Boyd or Chase and Hurst. I think that's the way to go. I don't really have any sicko plays for Buffalo. I mean, it feels pretty concentrated. I guess
you're not gonna. I thought you'd be coming here like Cole Beasley.
Well, McKenzie's going to be back this.
Thank God. Thank God.
But McKenzie's back. Right. And so it's, what is that, 3-way split now in the slot? Like that's
because Shakir's involved too. I mean, and Shakir looked pretty good.
Oh, was he ever involved last week? Yeah.
Shakir had a ton of air yards. I think he's second most on the team.
Yeah, James 24.5 A-dot deep downfield stuff.
Hey, Gabe's like, get out of here, man. Like it's my turf.
It's my area. That's the only thing I do.
Yeah. You gotta get out of here, man.
But Shakir, 79% of his routes from the slot, so the McKenzie stuff is gonna come for his routes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Any James Cook love this weekend, or did not really materialize against the Miami Dolphins? Seemed like maybe he could be a playoff X factor. And then just the whole backfield did nothing against the Dolphins. Any James Cook love?
Tough spot for, running back wise. I wrote about Singletary and Cook, like what to do with them. I guess my conclusion was it's such an ugly matchup that the Bills would probably just have to have hugely positive game script to even consider establishing either of these guys against Cincinnati. I think that's a pretty thin bet. So I'm having a hard time getting excited about James Cook is what I'm saying.
What about if we want to get gross, Samaje Perine, who had 20 routes to Joe Mixon's 10.
That's a good, yes.
We're checking down. Checking down.
We are checking down. Yes, that's actually a great play. I'm all in.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty. It's a really good play.
He's running 3 times as many routes as Kadarius Toney. I mean,
let me run the test. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good on Perine.
Yeah. I have goosebumps a little bit. Like it was semi-real. So I'm playing them.
My favorite
20 routes. That's more than 3 times, Pat. Do the math.
Well, how many routes did you say? I thought you said it was like 7.
He had 6 routes.
Oh my god!
Run and Perine had 20. So that's.
Oh my gosh! By the way, my fake dry heave hurt my throat really bad.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you do? You go too hard when you fake throw up or whatever.
Trying to sell it.
I've seen you do this. I don't even know how many times we did it at the Super Bowl last year when we fake threw up.
You got a problem, man.
I do it a lot.
And but it can be subtle, that sort of thing.
It's not. No one's buying that.
It doesn't have to be a scream.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can make the sound effect without doing it. I actually did it, and now I feel a little queasy. So
the Super Bowl, I remember I found a trash can prop, and then I fake threw up.
Yeah, but actually, I remember thinking that you were actually going to get into the trash can.
I should have. I would have really sold the bit. I would have really, really sold the bit, and I'm all about selling the bit. I'm all about continuing the show when we return right after this. Download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. In a game that's brought the 90s back, the 49ers host arch-rival Dallas as 4-point home favorites in Santa Clara. The sides are coming off what were the most convincing wild card performances of any team. Kyle, we sort of talked about this last Sunday night when me, and Pat got together, but how convinced are we that Brock Purdy can keep this going? I know we were convinced about where we were not. I know we were concerned about some of his throws against the Seattle Seahawks last weekend, despite yet another pristine box score.
I'm fairly convinced that he can keep doing what he's doing. It's just about like trying to describe what he has done, which to me is what most of the 49ers quarterbacks have done, is execute a good scheme. And it shows up in his EPA versus CPOE. It's just very nerd way of trying to describe what we're seeing, which is that he's 20th in CPOE. He isn't particularly accurate relative to the depth of field he's trying to throw to. And
or
he has,
relative to the eye test.
Yeah. I mean, like they're kind of saying the same thing in a way. You know, we can both agree that a 28-0 throw or one of those long balls is easier to complete than a screen. So, but he's second in EPA per play, second in the NFL in EPA per drop back. He flipped Jimmy in both of those stats as well. He's
better than Jimmy. I hate to say he's better than Jimmy.
I don't have a strong take. I kind of think he is, but we've seen 8 games from him, give or take. So I don't want to be too confident.
He's more enjoyable than Jimmy.
Definitely less soul destroying than Jimmy for sure.
I think his ability to improvise makes him instantly better than Jimmy. You know, that almost touchdown that he had where he scrambled, he hit Ayuk in the back of the end zone and he dropped it. That Jimmy Garoppolo would never even try that. Never.
Jimmy Garoppolo throws that one directly into a linebacker's hands. Linebacker,
or even just the check down touchdown to CMC where he like scrambled around and then like he knew where CMC was going to be. Like composure.
Like okay, yes, he's a product of the Shanahan system, but not as much as Jimmy Garoppolo. Not even close.
Yeah, and I will say he's been pretty solid under pressure on we're talking about a limited sample of 8 games. You are not pressured as often in those 8 games. So it is a very limited sample. I don't want to read too much into it, but he's been pretty good under pressure. And obviously we know this scheme really does well in creating yards after the catch. And the Cowboys have allowed the 4th most yards after the catch per completion, despite having like roughly a league average ADOT of passes thrown against them. So really like adjusting for where the passes are coming at, they do give up a lot of yards after the catch. They are a really strong defense, but that's one of their vulnerabilities if they have any. And it's the perfect vulnerability for this offense. So like as much as sure, I think any quarterback and especially a rookie quarterback could just really go out and drop a dud against the best pass rush in the NFL and just one of the best overall defenses. He's still got a pretty good chance at executing what he's done so far in this upcoming game.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's just on the stage accepting the Lombardi from Roger Goodell and Fox's Kevin Burkhardt. And as I mutter under my breath, he'll get exposed next week. Yeah, the shoe's going to drop next week. Just you wait. The book's out on him.
I have to say, this idea that Trey Lance is just going to come back and get his job back, that's not happening.
I think it will. I think Kyle Shanahan's a big sunk cost fallacy guy. I think it will.
Is he? Because he doesn't, like every running back he's ever drafted in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th round always plays behind a 6th or 7th.
That's true.
Round
He's actually
guy.
not. Because
amazingly, immediately compelling, directly contradictory evidence. Yeah.
We're looking into this strongly.
TDP.
Don't even get started on the receivers who he immediately moves on from. Like even if they're
Dante
good.
Pettis.
He moved on from Brandon Ayuk for half a season, even though he was good.
Yeah.
He was serious about that.
I do think
I got it together, but
no, I think there's a good chance that Trey Lance never plays another snap for the Niners.
I actually don't agree. I think he will be the starter.
I do too. But I mean, guys, like, let's see how it finishes. If they win the Super Bowl, he's never playing for him again.
So
if
real quick,
he gets blown out by the Cowboys, then we're seeing.
I guess if he wins the Super Bowl, maybe they can't go back to Trey Lance.
They can't. No way.
I think even if he gets to the Super Bowl, there is a very strong argument. Like how many first team reps do you think he took up until week 10? Like maybe he got like some after like was Jimmy ever dealing with an ankle injury before he got hurt?
What's your argument? You think if
he's just had no preparation.
Purdy's got upside beyond this.
Yeah, Purdy is the least prepared starting quarterback in the NFL. It's like him and Skylar Thompson, right? Are the guys who our expectations should be drastically low for. And if he makes the Super Bowl, he'll be like,
it's very nice of you about Skylar.
I'm saying like, I don't want to put, Patrick Mahomes' expectations on Skylar Thompson in his 2nd career start.
Right.
I want to put 7th round rookie expectations on him, which I think is fair. I think he'd appreciate not having too high of a bar to clear. He'll be like 11-1 with wins against a bunch of playoff teams. Like, I don't know how you go back.
A bunch of playoff wins.
Yeah, more importantly. Yeah.
Trey Lance doesn't fit here. He just doesn't.
So I think it sounds like we have decided, at least, even if he's a system quarterback, the dreaded system quarterback, we can't do the meme with Brock Purdy where we hold up a picture of CJ Beathard, Nick Mullins, and Brock Purdy and say they're the same picture.
No, it's the Jimmy Garoppolo's the meme.
Yeah, it's true. They're the same picture.
And it's him on a rookie contract.
Yeah,
that's actually kind of amazing.
Man, that's a good point.
He's better than Jimmy. There's no doubt about it. Sorry, Jimmy. Kerrane, what is the Cowboys' offensive approach going to be against this elite 49ers defense, where I just feel like it's all over the map what you can expect and get from this Cowboys offense?
Well, it's not that all over the map in terms of what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to run the ball, and they like to run the ball, and they will run the ball here.
That's true. I meant, yeah, what they're forced to, it can be all over the map. You're right.
The outcomes are all over a map. The strategy is
strategies.
You know exactly. We have like the coordinates down to like the millionth decimal place. We know where it is on Google Maps by inches.
Their game plan is written on stone tablets. They're not exactly altering it week to week. They're going to be running the ball here
against the best run defense in the league. Even?
I mean, it's the best pass defense. They're like second in EPA against the pass.
They're definitely the best run defense. It gets a little more debatable if they're the best pass defense. They're in the mix. But they're like certainly the best run defense in the league, the 49ers.
Yep. Cowboys don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to run the ball. Cowboys 25th in pass rate over expected. Wow. They rank behind the Niners, who we think of as got to establish a team. Nope. Cowboys more committed to the run than the 49ers. They rank behind the Ravens. They rank just ahead of the Saints. This team wants some of that is due to the fact they had Cooper Rush, but they've been run first even with Dak. So I think they're not like, the Bears, the Falcons, where they're just like run at all costs. But they're kind of a more extreme version of the Jaguars, where they're going to make sure they get their runs in. They're not going to abandon that, even if it's not going particularly well. And honestly, it might go okay because they have an explosive element with Tony Pollard. So I think they're going to be, balanced with the run first in the balanced realm, but tilted to the run. And overall, I think this game environment might be kind of, there'll be points, but it's going to be like,
mid.
It's not. Yeah, mid. It's gonna be mid. Thank you. Look at that. The Zoomer helping me out. I didn't know the word. That is the exact word I was going for.
It is mid.
Denny's kids have told him to stop using that word. By the way.
Oh man, have they ever? God. And along with oh man, there are so many words that my son uses that I try to use, and he's like, Dad, please don't say that.
Please never ever say them on the show either.
I do. I think that there's a faint chance. Just let me believe this. Let me go with this.
I'll let you believe it. But...
That the Cowboys.
The speech is free.
As Susan Collins would say, the Cowboys have learned their lesson. And
no, what? But she's always wrong. What do you mean?
And maybe they have. They were. I bet you guys didn't think Susan Collins would come.
No, we did not. Denny.
I also didn't think you would be aligned.
And yeah, so. Look, the Cowboys were over their expected pass rate on first down against the Bucs. They had I think they were 1% under their expected pass rate overall. We're making progress. We're pushing toward a more balanced approach here.
I don't know.
I don't know. We're not. We're not
good
because
you go, Pat.
Well, expected pass rate is you have to think about expected pass rate, and they had an expected pass rate of 57%. So. They were like 57%, not run heavy enough. We got to go under that. So they're, if it's all relative to what your expected pass rate is. And I think the expected pass rate for both teams could be pretty low if this is kind of a grinded out back and forth game. So I don't think we're going to see a ton of passing attempts here.
You mentioned the explosive element from Tony Pollard. Thank God they have that because Ian Hartitz, former Rotoworld employee, friend of the show, points out on Ezekiel Elliott's last 40 carries, he has gained 74 yards.
Oh my gosh.
So Zeke seems to be winding down a little bit here down the stretch of the season. So they're going to really, really need Tony Pollard.
Hey, I don't care. It doesn't matter how efficient he is. They're going to feed Zeke.
You have
hearing that for 2 years. Is that no longer true?
He has to listen. He has to have 15 2-yard gains before CeeDee Lamb can have a long reception. That's just the way it goes.
So Ian too. So Zeke's last 40 carries, 74 yards. On Tony Pollard's last 40 carries, 157 yards. They might need to feature Tony Pollard just a little bit more, especially against this elite 49ers
and
defense.
Pollard's not going to have much rostership here because of the matchup. I just want to.
He might. I feel like he might.
Really? Man.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I kind of like that. I like that play.
People believe in Pollard, though.
No, he feels like a gross play is why I say. I mean both. I mean Zeke is the grossest play of all time. I don't even think.
Ooh, so does that mean we actually need to play Zeke then?
No, Zeke's full throw up. You don't want to actually throw up.
Hey man, 18 carries, 38 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the price of doing business. A little throw up, that's fine. It's the price of doing business. Oh gosh, God, please stop that.
No, that's a perfectly viable line. By the way, the thing you just said, 18 carries for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns.
38. Come on,
that could happen. 100% that could happen.
38.
2 touchdowns, sub 20 points is Zeke's probably his most likely outcome this week.
Yeah, that's the price of doing business. That's the price of doing business. So yeah, just beyond the obvious, same question for this game. Who were the DFS plays? Who were like the X Factor guys, the T.Y. Hiltons, if you will, that you're excited to play in Cowboys 49ers? And who wants to go first? Don't be shy.
Well, I was doing a lot of research and found out that T.Y. Hilton led the team in air yards. I wanted to get that in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
he was
cool.
he was just this far behind Dalton Schultz, actually.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah. Schultz led, but just barely.
The narrative's crumbling. The T.Y. Hilton economy built.
He
on
led the
a house
receivers.
of-
He led the
house of
receivers
lies.
in air yards.
Also,
Hello
the Niners, just like the Eagles, the Niners get attacked via the slot way more than the boundaries. So that means, you have CeeDee Lamb running like around, I guess, half his routes from the slot, which should be increased here, but probably won't be. And Dalton Schultz, I think, is also a decent play, even though Niners have been good against tight ends.
Is Eli Mitchell thing? Can we play Eli Mitchell? I feel like we play Eli Mitchell.
He's getting used around the goal line. Why not?
Yeah, that's the thing is I saw like his expected fantasy points were like within 2 or 3 of McCaffrey's last week. Like he, like you said, he gets high leverage touches. So yeah, go
I think
for
it's
it.
fine.
Might go through these games real quick and just say I'm gonna do sicko play. Would you rather, Jermichael Hasty or
No,
Boston
the other
Scott?
one,
Jermichael
Boston
Hasty or
Scott.
Boston Scott?
the giant killer.
Yeah, I know he's got narrative street in his favor, but
Also, the other choice is Jermichael Hasty.
Yeah.
Hey, but you're talking about how they got to muck it up. They got to slow the game down.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Juwan Jennings or Isaiah McKenzie?
McKenzie.
Jennings.
Jennings?
Okay.
Jennings is we saw a ton of deep looks and just like the Cowboys, the Niners are not leaning so hard on the run game that you can't see some sort of opportunity for a guy like Jennings.
Elijah Mitchell or Boston Scott?
Eli
Mitchell.
Danny Dimes, the Dimesman Jones or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor.
Lawrence.
Jones.
Ooh, Denny is a giant.
Dang, it's crazy.
It's actually
You've been wrong so many times.
I'm taking my 13 Daniel Jones rushes and I'm leaving.
That's fair.
Dalton Schultz or Dallas Goedert? This is not a sicko play. This is just a philosophical.
Goddard.
I think Goddard.
Goddard too, yeah.
Darius Slayton, Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis.
I don't even think Gabe's that good, and it's Gabe by a
Thank
lot.
God. I was hoping none of you would say Darius Slayton. Please, it can't be Darius.
Redemption
Slayton.
arc for Darius Slayton. Gotta redeem himself for that drop that almost cost him the game.
That's bad.
Devontae Smith or T. Higgins?
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, Devontae.
Yeah.
Oof.
I think if we're all agreeing on this, though, in
You just
DFS,
did the true
do the
move.
opposite.
You did a full.
I'm surprised no one wanted to do Michael Hasty. I was assured you guys were truly sick people. Ezekiel Elliott.
Points. What do you think the goal is here? Just
All right,
to
here we
throw
go.
up? That's
Here
not
we go.
that's not the point.
This
think
is a
we're
good
at-
one.
Are
This
we
is a good
ending on
one.
a full vomit?
Ezekiel Elliott or Joe Mixon?
Oh.
Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
You just were touting Samaje Perine.
I don't know
I mean,
if Zeke
salary
has-
considered.
I don't
Joe
know.
Mixon's
Zeke has
been pretty
reached,
down
like-
low zeking like all
Yeah.
year. Let's be real.
Yeah,
That's
he has.
true.
That's true.
I was trying to find like some path to the ceiling for Mixon this week. There's none. There's just none.
There is literally
I don't think Zeke has reached 20 fantasy points in a game.
Ever.
what?
Like like he doesn't have a game. He has 2 games with 3 catches and no more, so he's not getting any PPR points. 2 touchdown games, both of which he combined for 1 catch, 5 yards in both of them, and 57 rushing yards plus 42. So those ones are 17 or 18 points, no 20s. There are no 20s on this. There are legitimately not a single one, and he has, 12 touchdowns or something? Yeah.
Kerrane is claiming he's got to go, but he's got to answer one more question. Tyler Boyd or Michael Gallup?
Boyd.
Yeah, Boyd.
All right, that's how we got it. That's the only way we could ever possibly end the show, was talking about Tyler Boyd.
I am glad it was a little bit of a palate cleanser after the Zeke stuff. So.
Yeah, it was a nice palate cleanser. I hope all your throats are okay after
I'm fine.
Projectile.
I feel good. Yeah.
And dry heaving. What do we have going up on the site? Denny, explain your article really quick. It's a must read. It really, I was trying not to sound sarcastic because it really is a must read.
Just thank you. It's just a top down look at how different game scripts could affect different players in these games. It's really way too much, but I enjoyed writing it.
Kyle, do you have anything on the site? Sorry if the answer is no, and I'm just embarrassing you.
Coaching tracker. But
let's try a coaching carousel. I unfortunately do not have anything on the site this week. I'm working on a longer article I'm hoping to have out in a week or two. I know Mark Garcia has a DFS article up on the site. We will have a divisional round podcast recap on Sunday night with myself, Pat, and Kyle. So please listen to that. Keep it locked to the site. We're going to have updates right up until kickoff at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, and then through the games, season-ending recaps for the eliminated players. So keep it locked to Rotoworld.com. Keep listening to the podcast, which will be out Monday morning. For Denny, for Pat, for Kyle, I'm the other Pat. Thank you for listening. We'll be back later.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.